Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, we've got this really interesting set of sources in front of us today, all detailing Eritrea's delegation at the UN General Assembly in New York, the 80th session.
Yeah, quite a significant presence.
Right. And our mission here is to really unpack what they were prioritizing. It wasn't just, showing up.
No, definitely not. It felt very strategic.
Exactly. We're seeing sort of three core pillars emerge. A clear push on diplomacy, showcasing some really specific achievements on gender equality, and then this very detailed ask about climate finance.
It's a fascinating mix, isn't it? Security, social progress, and, well, money. The delegation was led by Foreign Minister Osman Saleh. You had the permanent rep Sophia Tesfamariam there, Mrs. Elsa Hale, who handled the gender part.
Right.
And they seem to have a clear game plan. Look stable, show you're making progress at home, and then leverage that for external support. So we're going to walk you through how they laid out those three pieces.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with diplomacy then. The sources mention, the usual meetings, Sudan, Burundi, Cuba, places like that.
Standard bilateral stuff, yeah.
But two meetings really jump out, especially when you think about the global picture, the U.S. meeting and the EU one.
Absolutely. That U.S. meeting between Foreign Minister Saleh and Mazad Ferez-Boulos, who's the senior advisor for African affairs to President Trump, that one felt significant.
The key phrase seemed to be renewed engagement. What does that signal to you?
Well, it suggests they're actively trying to, reset things, turn a page after maybe some cooler relations.
And the areas they discussed weren't small scale either. Horn of Africa, Nile Basin, Red Sea. These are major strategic zones.
Huge. We're talking global security corridors, not just regional issues. So the focus was on concrete stuff. Stability, security, economic development, counterterrorism even.
And the Eritrean side, the source notes, emphasize doing this while respecting national sovereignty. That's always a key point for them, isn't it?
Always. It's a standard but important condition in these kinds of talks.
So the takeaway was described as a cautious but hopeful start.
Which basically means, okay, we're talking. There's enough common ground, mainly on security and stability, to keep these high-level chats going. It's a start.
Okay, so how does that compare to the EU meeting? That was with Mrs. Annette Weber, the EU special rep for the Horn, and the Swedish foreign minister, too.
Similar focus, really. Peace and security in the Red Sea and the Horn. But what stood out to me was Mrs. Weber specifically commending Eritrea.
Commending them for what?
For its critical role in maritime safety and security in the Red Sea. That's quite a statement from the EU.
Critical role. That sounds like diplomatic leverage.
I think it is. It positions Eritrea not just as another country in the region, but as sort of a security partner, a key player in a vital waterway.
And if you're seen as critical for security by the U.S. and the EU?
Exactly. It gives you a platform. It lets you pivot the conversation perhaps from just regional security to your own development needs, which seems to be exactly what they did next.
Right. That leads us neatly into the second pillar, gender equality. This felt very deliberate. First, establish your security importance, then showcase your internal progress.
And the venue was significant, too. Mr. Elsa Hale presented this at the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Women's Conference.
The Fourth World Conference on Women back in '95, that was a landmark event. So this isn't just any meeting.
No, it's a high-level review. And Mrs. Hale framed their progress using this powerful narrative, equality through participation, linking women's roles today back to the liberation struggle carrying rifles in the trenches.
Grounding the current policies in national history.
Precisely. And then, importantly, they backed it up with data. They talked about decisive steps in the last 5 years.
And these weren't just like aspirational goals. The sources list actual legal changes.
That's what made it strong. Stronger GBV protection,
Right.
securing land rights for women, labor protections, real institutional changes.
And the political representation number, women holding 42% of seats in regional assemblies, that really stood out. I mean, 42%.
It's huge. That's nearing parity and way above the global average. They're basically saying, look, our local election system delivers significant female representation. And they also mentioned near parity in school enrollment, too.
Which is crucial for the long term.
Absolutely. And the health stats were also pretty dramatic. An 82% reduction in maternal mortality over 2 decades. That takes serious, sustained public health effort.
It does. And they also touched on social reform, like the decline in FGM since the 2007 ban was enforced.
Yeah, showing that legal action plus enforcement can tackle really entrenched practices.
And finally, the economic piece. Women doing most farm labor, leading almost a third of farms. central to food security.
So you see the picture they're painting. We're key for regional security, and we're making verifiable progress internally on really important social and economic fronts.
But they didn't just paint a rosy picture, did they?
No, and that was smart, I think.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that progress isn't, perfectly even everywhere. They specifically mentioned challenges remain, especially for rural women.
So showing capability, but also realism about the remaining gaps.
But exactly, it makes the whole presentation more credible, and it sets up the next point. If we could do this much on our own, imagine what we could do with more support. Which brings us to climate action.
Perfect transition. So, Pillar 3, climate. Foreign Minister Saleh led this, acknowledging, the real impacts they're facing, rising temperatures, weird rainfall patterns hitting the economy.
Standard challenges for many countries in the region, unfortunately.
Their response strategy was framed around 3 words: ambition, clarity, and partnership.
Right, and this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of their climate pledge, their NDC, National Determined Contribution, under the Paris Agreement.
The key thing here seems to be the conditional nature of their big target. Let's break down those numbers.
Okay, so their unconditional target, what they pledge to do using only their own resources, is an 8.6% emissions cut below business as usual.
Okay, modest but doable on their own dime.
Right, but then there's a conditional target. If they get international help money and tech, that target jumps massively
How much?
to a 24.4% reduction by 2030. That's almost 3 times higher. And it would actually bring their emissions below 2018 levels.
Wow, okay, so that's a fundamentally different scale of ambition.
Totally different. And they've basically put a price on achieving it.
Which leads to Pillar 2, clarity. This is them saying, we know how we'd spend the money if we got it.
Exactly. They outline 2 main areas, shifting to clean energy and big nature-based projects like reforestation, water management, essentially investment-ready plans.
We're ready to go, shovels are ready, kind of thing.
Pretty much. Which brings us logically to Pillar 3, partnership, or maybe more bluntly, the ask.
So what is the price tag for that big 24.4% ambition?
The total needed investment is estimated at about $1.3 billion US dollars.
Okay, and how much of that are they asking international partners to cover?
They're asking for support for 63.4% of that total, so a very specific percentage of a specific amount, tied to a specific higher target.
They're making it very clear. You want this higher ambition from us. This is what it costs.
Precisely. It's a direct challenge, particularly to the most polluter countries, as the source material puts it, to meet their historical responsibility.
And it's not just about cash, is it?
No, they also explicitly mention needing knowledge, skill, and technology, and it needs to be reliable and accessible when needed. It's reframing climate finance less as aid and more as a necessary global investment to unlock the conditional potential that helps everyone.
So let's recap this whole UNGA appearance. What's the big picture here? We've seen them use their strategic location for diplomatic leverage with the US and EU.
Check.
Then they showcased really concrete, data-backed internal progress, especially on gender equality, to build credibility.
Double check. Showing they're a capable state delivering for its people.
And finally, they use that credibility to make a very clear, very conditional, multi-billion-dollar ask for climate action.
Yeah, the whole strategy feels integrated. Leverage security importance to open doors. Fill that space by proving domestic competence. Then use that demonstrated competence to justify a major conditional international ask, particularly on climate finance. They're linking what they can do internally to what the world needs to provide to unlock bigger results.
It's definitely a well-structured argument presented on the world stage.
It is. Now, for you listening, here's something to think about building on this. Consider that conditional target model we just discussed, that huge gap between the 8.6% they can do alone and the 24.4% they can do with support.
Yeah, it's a massive difference.
So how might this dynamic fundamentally change global climate talks? If more and more developing nations start putting very specific price tags on their highest climate ambitions, making them explicitly conditional on getting that finance and tech, what happens to the negotiations if that support doesn't fully materialize? What does that mean for global climate goals?